Hello and welcome. My name is Folake, and this is the Inner Power Game, a series of podcasts for the free spirit soulpreneurs, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and change makers leading the new age world. In today's episode, I'm going to dive into why and how to activate our personal power with regards to our ability to assert our own free will and make decisions that are better aligned with what we want, our own values, our intentions for our lives, etc., etc. And I'm going to dig into the indications that shows when we need to activate this personal power of us and share things from our own personal experience. In particularly, I want to look at the aspects of leadership, relationships, and wealth building and link this into an activation of the feminine energy as the key for the transformation that we're looking for. And I really hope you enjoy this. So let's dive in. I really want to introduce a concept, a different concept to the idea of personal power. And just for context, when I'm talking about personal power, I'm talking about our ability to almost assert our own will in different situations, our ability to make decisions in alignment with our own values and the goals that we've set ourselves, and our ability to make a claim for like our sovereign power, taking actions in alignment with who we are, not caring about what people think, being able to create in ways that are really aligned with us as a person. So, this is what I mean when I'm talking about personal power. And I feel that traditionally, this idea of personal power and the way we've been taught to activate this personal power has mainly been based on the masculine energy side of things. So I want to bring a different perspective about how we can activate this personal power and also the importance of actually thinking about this and making it a focus to activate this personal power, especially in the times that we live right now, and bringing in a different dimension to how we do that. And for me specifically, it's about using the feminine energy. So this is what I really want to explore on this episode. And, I should say that when I'm talking about this feminine energy, I am not specifically talking about like a woman, I'm not specifically talking about the female. I'm just talking about an aspect of our energy that is the feminine energy, that aspect of our consciousness that is the feminine energy. And I'll mention that again and again. So this podcast is about activating our personal power, looking specifically about how we can use the feminine energy side of things to really, light up this power of ours. And I also want to bring it, into things like how we hold better relationships in our lives, how we are better able to hold wealth, and also how we're better able to lead, hold that leadership position at our work, and also self-lead ourselves, self-leadership. So this idea of personal power is something that in my own private life or experience has really been a game changer, because years ago, I was in a place where I really felt like I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And no matter what I did, nothing was happening. And many people probably will be able to relate to this, or, at one point in your life where you just feel like it's either that you're trying and you're trying and nothing is happening, or perhaps maybe you feel this desire to achieve something. You have these big goals and you have this, big dreams. You have an intention to change, your lifestyle, to change your life, to make it better for yourself, for your children, to change your work environment because you're not happy in that environment, or even to grow a business, to transition from a job that you're not happy into actually creating your own business. It could be anything. And we feel that no matter how we try, things are not happening. Or sometimes it feels like we want to try so many things, but we do not have the resources to do those things. So it almost feels like a chicken and egg thing, going around in circles. Which one comes first? Nobody knows. And it's just like this vicious circle. Now, for me, I feel personally that the one big thing that really helped break this circle where I could do things without waiting for these external resources, where I could break some of these patterns that perhaps maybe I'd been repeating over and over again without the external factors, came down to this personal power, this activation of this personal power. And I think it's quite really obvious to see certain habits or certain things in our lives where it's an indication that we need to hone in on our own personal power. And a few things, and these are some of the things that, I felt at this stage that I'm talking about. So things like when we lose our confidence. So for me, this particular stage in my life that I'm talking about, I had lost my self-confidence. Like I just lost the relationship that I was in. I'd lost the business that I was running with my ex, and my self, who I was so attached to those two things. my who I was, a woman, was attached to the business, me as a business owner, and being the being in that relationship. So when those two things broke, I really lost my confidence. So this lack of confidence, like when we don't have this confidence in ourselves to do things, no matter what the environment is, no matter even if we have the money, if we have the resources, if we have the mentoring, etc., if we still do not have the confidence in ourselves, if we are feeling unsure of ourselves and we're feeling unsure of our own ability, this is like a big indication that, we need to tune into our own personal power. So for me at this phase, what I was saying was, even though I was trying to rebuild my life and, I was trying to transition back into coaching women in business, transition back into coaching men in tech, it wasn't really happening because I had lost that confidence in my ability to do that. I was so my ability was so attached to the fact that, I'm a business woman and I have my own business. So, because I'm doing it, I should be able to teach you. So with that aspect of me gone, there was this the voice within going, if you've lost your business and you don't even have a business, who are you to then coach and mentor other people? And that was like a really quiet voice in my head that was really obstructing everything else. So there was a really big indication there that I'd lost this confidence, and that, getting that back came back to this personal power thing. So the big indication that I see, especially, when I then when I'm mentoring other people and I'm coaching other people, it's also like when we find that we're not able to make decisions, like when we struggle to make decisions in our life, when we struggle to be very decisive, this is usually a really big indication that we need to look into this personal power thing, especially when we're running businesses and not even in business, when we are in a work environment, especially when we're in leadership roles. I have supported CTOs and CEOs in the past where like the you always see like a really difference between CTOs or CEOs or senior managers that are able to make decisions and the impact that will have on the wider team, as opposed to a type of manager that is not able to make decisions. You just cannot get them to make a decision. It's like they fob you off, later, ask somebody else. And then either the project just gets delayed, things are not really moving. And then the staff, the team starts to feel demoralized. So, that again, I feel it's a really strong indication that we need to hone in on our own personal power. There are other things that I see that are very much linked into personal power, and things like just even our ability to hold our own energy when we are in the presence of other people, when we are, working with a team, when we are with our partners, when any situation, our ability to hold our energy. So, for example, when I mentor perhaps coaches, one of the things that I may hear is that they get drained by certain type of clients, or even perhaps maybe you even identify with this, like as you go to work, there are certain people at work that really just drain you. And when we start to get this of getting drained a lot, that means, again, for me, it's something to do with how we are holding our own energy, which is also very much linked to our own personal power. So this ability to set boundaries, this ability to hold our energy is very much linked to our personal power. And these are really, really big stuff that we can do within ourselves that really transforms everything else. And, the main thing is most of us, we're working and we're running a business because we have these big goals and we have these big intentions and we have this dream that we want to bring into fruition. And if you're finding that you always have these goals and these dreams and this project that you're starting, or you're never starting them, you're never really achieving those goals, you're never really feeling fulfilled, this is also a really clear indication that you need to hone in on your own personal power. Because somewhere along that timeline, there's an inability to really be very clear on what you want, to be clear on your intentions, to really see it and feel it very clearly with conviction, because that is what leads us to achieving that thing. So if you're constantly finding that you're never able to break through this threshold of growth, again, I'll be like, come on, let's come back into this personal power. And another one is about when we actually, and this is a big one for most people, this fear of failure in business, fear of failure, or in work. It's either we get a new job and automatically we start to think, that imposter syndrome thing will show up. It's like, I'm going to fail at this. I'm not going to be able to do this. And to an extent, we all have this fear whenever we're expanding out of our comfort zone. But this one is it's a little bit different. Like if you're constantly finding that you're getting really constricted and you're getting into perhaps maybe panic attacks, anxiety because of this fear of failure or even fear of rejection or fear that people might not like you, etc., etc. This also comes down to this personal power. So, like in business, for example, like a few examples that I see are like people are not showing up, this fear of showing up online because they worry about what people will think about them and about what they write. And people might think that they are, I don't know, whatever it is. This comes down to our own personal power because as soon as we activate this power within us, we start to care less about what other people think, and this, also just transform everything. So, like, the more we activate this personal power of ours, the more we're able to really stand up for ourselves and really just show up, for who we are, who we truly are, without really caring or we care less about what other people think. So, these are really strong indications. Like, if you can relate to any of this stuff, these are the things that we almost need to go back to. It's like the foundation. It's like what makes the house stand like really, really strong, because otherwise without this stuff, it's like, what's that saying? Like, is it a castle on sand? Like, yeah, we're just building a castle on sand that can easily just be eroded. So for me, activating this personal power, activating this foundation really transforms everything. And this sort of work does not need external resources. These are things that are already within us. This is like an energy activation, that when this energy is activated, things start to transform in a whole new way. And for me, if you ever hear me talking about inwards, outwards, like creating from the inner to transform the outer, this is the sort of things I am talking about. Traditionally, the way we've been taught to activate this personal power, as I feel, this is my opinion and this is my experience so far. I really feel that the way we've been taught so far has been based on the masculine energy aspect of things. We've been going through the education system and then getting into the workplace. We've been taught that we need to be assertive, we need to be assertive, we need to be ambitious, and we need to take action. And if you're assertive, if you're ambitious, and if you take action, those are the ways that you make things really happen. And yes, this is true. Like, we need to be assertive with how we communicate, with how we present the things that we want in a way that people can relate to, so we get the things that we want. Yeah, we need to be ambitious by setting goals and working towards those goals so we can move forward. And yes, we need to take action to make those things happen, because without taking actions, nothing really happens, So all those things are really, really important. Assertiveness, ambition, the drive, the action, they are all very, very important. And for me, those type of actions is very much also aligned with the masculine energy. So we know that already. One of the reasons why so many people, are living in this lifestyle of overwhelm and burning out. Okay. We need a balance between the masculine and our feminine energy side of things. And don't forget, like I said at the beginning, when we're talking about the masculine, we're not per se talking about a man, and we're not talking about the feminine energy. I'm not specifically talking about a woman or female. I'm more talking about these two aspects of our consciousness, these two aspects of our creativity, and finding ways to use both of this energy to create a more balanced and harmonious lifestyle. So, again, I feel traditionally the way we've been encouraged to really go for things using this, like, you need to be ambitious, you need to be action driven, you need to be assertive, you need to go, 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 you need to go get it, get out there, do it. That energy has been the way most people know to achieve things, know to get their voice heard, and etc. etc. So we find, like, in workspace specifically, and let's look at like male dominated environment like tech, for example, which I know so well. There is this what I'll call it a bug right now, where there are so many women, for instance, do not feel that they can shine naturally, because the ways that they're supposed to shine, the ways that are seen as the way to get things, are not really aligned with their natural way of being. So I really feel that we want to start to approach this personal power from a different angle. And what I want to do as well on this podcast is to bring in these three elements that are very crucial when it comes to high achievers, people in the work environment, or people that are growing business. And that aspect is the relationships, how we hold wealth, and how we also lead, these leadership skills. And I want to really use and show you how the feminine energy can be a really crucial way to activate our personal power to hold these three areas of our lives. Like feminine energy, what characteristics do we associate to feminine energy? Things like our ability to tap into our intuition, that emotional ability, that ability to connect with people on an emotional level, our natural ability to be nurturing. This sort of stuff are things that are very much linked to the feminine energy, the ability to lean back and receive, so that we're not always pushing to make things happen. Those are the things that are we would naturally think are associated to the feminine energy. And when we look at some of the things that I mentioned about as clear indications of us not being in our personal power, like take the self-confidence, for example. And I mentioned about like how, for me, one of the key things when I couldn't make things happen, um, those years when I was really trying, was really linked to my lack of self confidence after all the breakup. For me, I really feel that the thing that changed it all with the self confidence thing was working on this feminine energy. Because by really honing in on my feminine energy, I was able to tap into a resources that was already within me, resources that was not dependent on any external factors. Resources like, that inner wisdom, my level of intuition, and my ability to really relate to people on an emotional level, so that I understand people and they can really understand me. Like, that is a kind of what I call this unshakable self confidence. And if you're a woman listening to this podcast and you're like, okay, I really want that unshakable inner confidence that comes from wisdom, that comes from intuition. I actually have a free 5 days womb meditation practice that hundreds of women have taken. And even till today, I still hear people go, that was just amazing. And, that's such a powerful tool that you can use, and it's free, and you're really just activating something that's already within you. So if you connect with me on IG, for example, and just ask me for the 5 days womb activation practice, I will send you the link. So that's about building self-confidence, but from this feminine energy. And for men as well, you can exactly do the same thing. You can look at practice to tap back into your own level of wisdom, your own way of really being very intuitive to activate this thing. And this kind of activation is so grounded and gives you such a strong foundation that I feel the masculine aspect of our energy cannot give us, because the feminine energy is like the foundation. The masculine for me feels like the other side of things, is the external aspect of things. So then I spoke about like how, naturally we've been told that in order to really be powerful, you've got to be very assertive, and that assertiveness usually comes from this masculine approach to personal power. But we can also tune this personal power from our feminine energy, because with the feminine energy, when we work with the feminine energy, it gives us this calm and this grounding, like this calmness and this grounding approach to life that is very different to the pushy or the aggressive way. And this kind of way of being actually attracts people to us, like it pulls people to us instead of like pushing them away. And then, when even if we look at things around like that fear, I talk about like this fear of this fear that comes from what people think of us, this fear that comes from failure, etc., etc. Even this, like when we start to work with our feminine energy, that starts to diminish, because there is a kind of power that comes from this inner wisdom and this intuition, where we feel so grounded, and that grounding comes from our inner knowing. It comes from our ability to know right from wrong, to work with discernment, to be guided from something that's so much bigger than us. This comes from this feminine energy aspect of us. When it even comes down to like something that you would feel that it's so masculine, like our ability to deal with situation, to be very resilient, this again, I feel the feminine energy is the grounding for it. Because when we can maneuver through challenges, and we know that we can hold any aspect of our lives, this is coming from this grounding of like being able to embrace our emotions, being able to embrace other people in our environment without taking on their energy, being able to nurture ourselves first before we try and nurture other people, and not feeling guilty about this. This is a feminine aspect of us. You would have heard that saying of like, you cannot give from an empty cup. And most of us are trying to give from an empty cup. And this is where this overwhelm and this burnout again comes into play. We're trying to help other people and we don't even know how to help ourselves. We complain that we're not happy in our relationships, that our partners are not giving us what we want when we don't know what we want. We no longer know what makes us happy. That has come from us operating too much in our masculine, where it's always been the outer and the pushing out and the pushing out. But when we come back and we activate this feminine aspect of our energy, we learn to almost, to fill our own cup, to know what we want, to know what is right for us, to be able to give that to ourselves without the guilt and without the shame. And, on this journey, and as we're connecting more to this, to our inner selves, and we are activating this level of intuition, we start to also develop different ways of personal growth. I find that when I'm working with clients, even clients that, when we start working, they say things like they're not really comfortable with like meditation. They don't have the patience for meditation. They don't have the patience for journaling. They're too busy. They can never find the time. I find that as they like activate this aspect of their energy, they start to use like meditation, journaling, self-reflection as a really powerful tool for growth, regardless of whether they're a CEO, CTO, like a six-figure business owner, a seven-figure business owner. These tools start to become the game changer for how they're making things happen. They start to slow down and they start to use more of the energetics to create bigger results, which means they're creating without the usual overwhelm, without the burnout. So, like I said, I'm not really saying that it's either one or the other. No, both the feminine energy and the masculine energy, should work together. We should use both together and really stepping into our power. But traditionally, we've been taught to more come from the masculine aspect of things. And this is why so many people are getting into overwhelm and burnout. And we want to start to practice a different way of really holding our power, staying in our power, and creating life. So let's look at like creating life in terms of like relationships, creating life in terms of like wealth, and creating lives in terms of like leadership. So talking about leadership to start with, because this is one that I have personally experienced a lot of overwhelm and a lot of burning out and a lot of stress in work environment due to the leadership role, due to the leadership style of whoever was leading that team. And, I really want to talk about the importance of incorporating this feminine leadership in our business, in our work environment, if you're leading huge organizations, to really start to think about this. And when I'm talking about feminine leadership, I'm not talking about like women leading. I'm more talking about the style of leadership, like how we adapt our style of leadership to the environment that we're in, the people that are working with us, working for us, the type of people in that team, like how we are intuitively being guided to lead our teams, lead our organization, lead our project. So I'm not really talking about like, women leading. I'm more talking about the style and the skills that we are using in our leadership. And, most of us, I know for me particularly, I have been in organizations where, whoever is leading that team has been very much more masculine driven kind of leader, and not even maybe the person per se, it could even be the whole organization culture is very much more masculine driven. So we see things like, very hierarchical structures and aggressive way of achieving results, and there is no empathy at all in the organization. Like, you cannot really express how you really feel, even though the culture might say we listen to our team and we're open for discussions, and if you're not happy, like, let us know about it. But like, nobody really goes up and go, I'm not happy. Maybe a few people, but people do not feel safe to be able to really express how they feel in that organizations. And then people end up leaving. I mean, really, really good people will end up leaving those organizations regardless of how much they're getting paid. But when we start to really like consciously try and bring in this feminine leadership into our organizations, into the way we manage, into the way we lead ourselves, the way we lead our team, etc., you might find that things start to change, because the type of environment that we start to build is an environment where people feel a little bit valued, and they feel that they can be heard. And because of that, they're also more motivated to do a great job, because with the feminine energy, the characteristics of that as a leader is that you are more, you're using more of your intuition, you are being more empathetic towards the needs of the people around you. And like, you have this high level of emotional intelligence, which sometimes is missing when somebody is too much in their masculine, because the masculine is just too focused and too driven to tap more into this other side of things, like the empathy, the intuition, and etc., because for the feminine energy, it requires for us to almost slow down, to almost stop and feel things. And when we're more driven in the masculine, we really don't have time for that. So it's not that, maybe we don't care about our team or we don't care about people. We just don't have time to do those things. And I've seen amazing managers, like managers that are naturally, you can see that they're heart centered and they've got good intentions, but because they're so busy, they no longer are able to connect to their team. They no longer are able to really see what is going on, because there's so much more in that masculine driven phase. And this applies to both men and women. Okay. And, this way we really need to look into this, because I read, now I've forgotten the stats. There is a stats I saw online about high achievers, like some ridiculous percentage, like, I don't know, 67% or almost 70% of like people that are classified as high achievers having like heart attacks, very much more prone to heart attacks, much more prone to burnout, because again, they hardly stop. They just like go, go, go. So when we start to consciously make an effort to promote this feminine leadership in our organization, we might see things start to change. Okay. We might see more diversity in our leadership. We might start to bring in a different kind of like people, into our teams. We might start to see a better performance within the team. We might start to see more collaborations within the team, etc. But we need to consciously look at this. And then when it comes to the relationships that we're building, so even in these organizations, as you're bringing in, more people and you're finding your retention rates is getting better as you tap more into this feminine leadership, you're going to find that the relationships between ourselves and the people around us. And again, this is not just work. This is like in our own private environment with our own partners. When we start to tap into this feminine aspect of our energy to stay in our power, we find that, our relationships gets better. I see it, for example, like even in my clients where, when I start working with a client, some of them, they would be at that point where their relationship with their partners is almost over. Like they're actually at that point, for some people, at that point where they're like, I can't do this anymore. And they're ready to walk out. They're ready to leave that relationship. And they never feel like it can be fixed, They're like, literally, that relationship is over and done with. And I know, I've worked with so many clients that relationship can be fixed. In fact, for me, it's a very foundation of relationships, especially when we are, we're married and we're in that sort of like relationship and we're living in the same house with that person. It's very important that is a healthy relationship, because without that, we really can't fly. So many people would have heard me say that, we need that beautiful relationship to be able to fly. So the more I work with a client and the more they start to work on their feminine energy, they would start to see that their relationship gets better. And, right now, as I'm doing this podcast, this is one of the biggest things that, I am so happy about with all my current clients at the moment. The type of relationships that they have with their partners is just so beautiful. And for some of them, this is not how it has been. So this feminine energy, this activation of this feminine energy to step into our power almost activates a kind of energy that allows us to be more open, that allows us to be more authentic in our needs, in how we show up, in how we take actions, in how we relate to the people around us, and also like allows us to really create deep connections with our partners, deeper connections with our colleagues, and just brings that sort of a different level of fulfillment in our lives that may be missing for so many people. For so many people, it's like a case of get up, go to work, spend whatever, all your time at work, come home, overwhelmed. You don't even connect with your partner. You get up again and you go to work, and that fulfillment is missing for so many people. And like we cannot continue to live like this. So a way forward is like this embracing of this feminine energy in our relationship, so that we are able to better communicate. We're able to better deepen our connections, that we're able to live a more balanced approach to life, and not just a life of like go, 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 go get, make money, come home, be tired. Like for me, that just feels like an empty life. Like it just like there's no way that we were born to this world to get up and work and that's it. Like, what is the point? What is the point? And that's what so many people are doing right now, living in this extreme side of the masculine energy. So we want to start bringing things back. We want to start bringing things back into ourselves, into our grounding. And this really comes down to reactivating this feminine energy. And then also, like when it comes to like wealth and money, I also see a link here when it comes to wealth and money and our ability to actually hold wealth. Because let's go back to it again. I already said like this feminine energy is associated with intuition. I didn't actually mention creativity. Like the feminine energy is the creative life force. it's the energy that allows us to be very, very creative. The more we activate our feminine energy, the more creative we become with how we live our life. It means that we get ideas, we get like ideas that are authentically ours. We find different ways of attracting wealth, and we are also able to hold that wealth. And, there's 2 points that I really want to like make in this section of like, wealth, holding money, and this feminine energy. There is this idea that, and I've heard so many people talk about it, of, the feminine makes like the magic money. And I truly, truly believe that the masculine makes the money that's very logical. So think about it like a man. Let's just take the man. Let's just talk about the man. So like the man in most relationship, let's just go to gender for a second, okay? So like the man in a relationship, most times, not always, most times, would be the person that very conscious about making ends meet. Like the men are like, we gotta like make sure that there is we're provided for, we can pay the bills, and we can pay the mortgage or the rent, and that there is money to buy the food, etc., etc. It's not always the case, but majority of the times, the man is very logical, and their needs are very very, very basic. They're like, we gotta provide. I've got to be able to provide, or we've got to be able to meet our needs. And that is very, very linked to the masculine energy. The masculine energy is very logical. It's very like needs based. Then the feminine energy, and now we're going to go to the woman, it's more like, flowy and like magic, and like they want beauty and they want experiences, and like it's all like flow, flow, flow. And the woman would go and shop because she felt like shopping, or she saw something so beautiful and she went and bought it. And the man is like, well, why would you spend so much money on that little bag, or something like that? And that's because that's the energy of that's the feminine energy. So when it comes to like making money, it's exactly the same thing when it comes to us tapping into the feminine energy. The feminine energy, because the feminine energy is not logical. The feminine energy is magical. And because it's magical, it also means that you can make money in ways that are not logical, in ways that feels magical, in ways that do not prescribe to a traditional method, or in ways that you could not foresee. And this is why when we start to activate this feminine energy, like we could like, you maybe would make like loads of money because that creative juice is activated. So I feel our ability to make ridiculous amount of money, or to make more money than is logical, or to like do these things that we call quantum leap, or, step into a different level of wealth that you couldn't even foresee, comes from the feminine energy. And like I said before, both has to be in balance, the feminine energy and the masculine energy. I'm not saying that, it has to be in silo, like one as opposed to the other. We need both of them. But when it comes to money and wealth, usually people don't think about the feminine energy as something that allows them to actually be able to bring in more money, and also to be able to hold more wealth. So, even when you look at the characteristics of the feminine energy, these characteristics of it being nurturing, and being nurturing allows us to actually have a loving relationship with our money. And this can involve like letting go of limiting beliefs around money, and letting go of like negative emotions that we hold around money, and replacing that with a more positive, energy and more empowering beliefs. These are all feminine aspects of personal development. These are all feminine way of personal power, like working on your limiting beliefs, clearing blocks, clearing negative energy, stepping into this empowerment. You hear people talking about affirmations. These are all feminine. These are all feminine ways of activating our personal power. And the shift in this mindset, the shifts that can happen when we work on this approach can really help us not just make money, which, the masculine can do, but also to to hold it in a very beautiful way, to hold it in a way that feels joyous, to hold it in a way that feels fulfilling, to hold it in ways that just feels much more beautiful than if we were just now masculine, just making the money, making ends meet, paying the bills, make the money, pay the bills, make the money, pay the bills. There is more to life. We want the beauty and we want the joy and we want the fun and we want the romance and all that stuff. And to do that, we really need to tune into our feminine energy. This feminine energy to stay in our power, to make a decision that, we want this life to be more joyous, not just work and die. So when we're able to balance this masculine and this feminine energy, we create a more balanced relationship with our money. But for so many people, making money has become such a masculine thing. We don't even put this feminine energy into equation. We don't bring in this our ability to be compassionate, to be receptive when you're in your feminine energy as a link to bringing in more abundance and holding more wealth in our lives. We have just lost that, which is not good. So to summarize and let's just try and bring this all together. This idea around activation of our personal power from activation of the feminine aspects of our energy. For me, I'm putting this forward because I think traditionally it's always been the case that we come from the masculine side of our energy, and activating the feminine energy, it's as much as important tool for us to activate our power, to stay in our power. And if we can get the balance right between the feminine and the masculine, our lives are going to be more harmonious, And so there are so many other ways that we can activate our personal power. On this series, on this podcast specifically, I'm more focusing on these two aspects of our energies, the feminine and the masculine energy, and the call for us to use them in balance. But the key thing here is that if we are in a position where we are trying to move our lives forward, we're trying to create growth, we are trying to up-level any aspect of our life or our business, and perhaps maybe we're feeling blocked, stuck, or we just want to accelerate that in our own power, then this personal power thing is so key. And if this personal power thing is so key, then my call is to look at the feminine energy as a foundation, and we top it up with the masculine energy. And like I said, the personal power is a way to make things happen because it's all within us already. This ability to be self-aware, to have self-confidence, to have this powerful self-esteem, to be compassionate, and to have a sense of purpose in life, to be true with oneself, to be at ease with oneself, to be able to connect with our inner resources. This foundation is so key and so important. And if we are missing this in our personal development, in our growth, you're going to find it very hard to really to reach your goals, to make intentions happen, to manifest, to to hold on to whatever results you've always got in the past, to hold on to wealth, to hold on to relationships. You might find that you get stuff, but then you lose it, or you make moves forward and then you find yourself back to square one, or that you're going around in circles, because the foundation, the self-awareness, self-confidence, self-esteem, self-compassion, wisdom, intuition, etc., is missing. So for me, this is the foundation. This is the foundation. This is the key to a beautiful life. This is the key to staying in your power. And the first thing is our activation of our feminine energy. And then we top it up with our masculine energy. And yes, there are other ways to tap into the personal power, like educating ourselves and having access to resources and so many other things. But what I am addressing here is something that we can start from within us, like working on our inner and using our inner to create our outer. Because for me, I still truly believe that everything external of us is a reflection of our inner world. And if you can work on your inner and you create a beautiful meadow, a beautiful garden inwards that is strong and expansive, you will start to see your reality match that energetically. So if you're listening to this right now and you're thinking, okay, I can definitely do with activating some of these things that Folake has spoken about, like activating your personal power so you can build a strong foundation to your creativity, to your leadership skills, to how you hold wealth and how you build better relationships, then I would invite you to contact me and ask me about the Inner Power Game Sanctuary, which is a community and a coaching program that we have to help you understand yourself in all your mysterious and magical feminine ways. Like the sanctuary is a place to activate this feminine mystique, this feminine leadership of yours. And in this container, it's curated in ways that you're going to definitely be able to tap into your magic, and you're going to stop wondering like those questions like, what is my purpose? And instead be able to just like slow down and let life slowly unfold for you. In this container, you will for sure be activating this feminine leadership, this inner power, strong boundaries, your creativity. And also you're going to be doing that with a soul tribe of other women who are also on their own transformational journey. So it's a container that has the sisterhood and has so the community, but also has the coaching aspect of things with it. And so I feel that it's a one of a kind of support, and this may help you better hold good jobs, progress in your career, but maybe even like build better businesses, go for the things that you want, go for intentions, manifest better. It's a foundation for creating a beautiful life. It's a foundation for becoming, I always say, become one of the most powerful person you know. So if that really calls to you, just find me on IG and ask me about the sanctuary. And what I'll do is I would just give you like a good intro, a demo, and show you what the community feels like, what the platform feels like, and how you're going to be supported, and show you the programs for the next few months that we have coming up. So yeah, just find me on IG or Facebook for like a bit. And that's it for this week's episode. What do you think about this week's episode? I really love to get your feedback. I love hearing about what you think about the topics, what you think about the structure, and even if you have any suggestions about anything, perhaps it's like something that you would love for me to cover. I'm always open to hearing from you. And you can find me personally on any of the social media platforms using Folake B. And while you're still here, I'm going to ask for it. You're watching this, you've watched so far, you've listened so far. So why don't you give us a follow if you haven't already done so? And even much better, why don't you rate and review this? Because it really helps us to be seen on these platforms, and we really appreciate your support. So yeah, if you can do that, that would be great. Anyways, until the next time, don't forget to keep spreading the love and never stop the healing. Take care and join me again soon for another episode of the Inner Power Game Podcast.